has influenced a poet through his or her work. And today, we're going to look at one of the great masters of Western European art. His name is Titian. We will be talking briefly about Titian's life and accomplishments while I show you all a slideshow of his work. And then we're going to focus on several of his paintings that are based on a poem by the poet Ovid. Ovid wrote an enormously long epic poem called Metamorphosis. I'm not going to read the poem to you. Everybody breathe a sigh of relief, a huge sigh of relief, because this poem it's like a tome. It's huge. The part of the poem that inspired Titian in this series of paintings is about a Greek myth based on a woman named Danae. And Danae, it's really kind of an unfortunate story, but I'm going to talk more about it once we start looking at the paintings that Titian did, inspired by her and her story, that are talked about in Ovid's poem Metamorphosis. But it's all based on a rather salacious, prurient Greek myth. It's kind of a dirty story. So I want to prepare everyone. There's going to be a little bit of nudity in the paintings that we're going to look at today. Titian was a Renaissance painter. The Renaissance painters venerated the human body. They thought that the naked body was a thing of beauty, and they painted it over and over again, particularly the female body. So you are going to be seeing several paintings of female nudes. Ironically, however, during Renaissance times, women were not allowed to pose for artists. So the bodies that you're looking at were probably male bodies that they added female parts to. So they eliminated male anatomy and they modified the bodies, added to it, subtracted from, and made them look female. And we might talk a little bit about that more too. All right, here we go at the slideshow. Any questions before I begin? After I do the discussion, we're going to do an art project. So as usual, talk and then art. This is about your creative process. Oh, sorry. First, two announcements. Number one, this is a little bit of shameless self-promotion. This Sunday, April 30th, my art studio at Mana Contemporary, which I believe the address is 999 Newark Street in Jersey City, will be open. My studio is B101. I'll put that in the chat for you. At some point during this class, the studios, there are a lot of artist studios there, so you can see my work and a lot of other artists' work. Studios will be open, I believe, from 11 a.m. until something like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The other thing is also a bit of self-promotion, but not a lot. Next Thursday, May 4th, I will be teaching a short 30-minute class right here in Hoboken at the Multipurpose Center called Art as Therapy. It is specifically for senior folks like myself, but anyone is welcome to come. It is from 12 to 12:30 p.m. I'm going to be doing an art class where you use paper and pencil only. And it's really using drawing as a meditation practice. It's great fun. I think you would love it. It is in person only, unfortunately. So those of you who usually attend via Zoom, it's not going to be available to you. I'll put that info in the chat later during the class as well. But here we go with our slideshow. I'm going to put it on the screen right now for our artist, Titian. Whoops, not on the right. And folks, here I have to minimize this momentarily so I can share it with everyone. Small technical problem. Let's see if I can figure it out. Yes. Okay, here we go. Good morning, Jane. All right. There are a few seats left. So Titian, Titian, was a Renaissance painter from Venice. He was born in 1488, although that's kind of a guess. Some have said his date of birth was 1477, but critics favor the date 1488, anywhere between 1488 and 1490. And he was born in the Republic. At that time, it was a republic, the Republic of Venice, Italy. It was not a city, it was a republic. Some believe he was the greatest Italian Renaissance painter of the Venetian school. He was recognized early in his lifetime as a supremely talented painter. And here is one of his paintings. His reputation of late has suffered a decline. I will admit right at the start, he's not one of my favorite Renaissance painters. I enjoy much more Michelangelo and Da Vinci. But hey, everyone has their own personal opinion. Yes. They're still seeing the Cezanne slideshow. So, okay, we're going to stop the share. I don't know what's going on. Try about that, folks. We're going to try again. You know what? Maybe I shouldn't open it first. Let's try this. No, it's not available for sharing, Laura. It's not showing up in my share screen. Yep. It's the Cezanne one. Oh, wait, what's this? No, it's still Cezanne. Get rid of that one. Here's Titian. Let's open it. Okay, let's minimize it. Share screen. It's not there.
Well, you know, that's your desktop there.
Oh,
Okay,
I've never had to do that before.
see if that works. Let me see if we see it.
Folks, can you see it now?
I think so.
Could somebody give me a thumbs up? So everybody's off screen. If someone,
See it here now.
all right,
Yes, we do.
okay, good. All right, sorry about that. So this is a painting by Titian. He lately, I'll just repeat briefly what I said. Lately, his reputation is not held in as high regard as it used to be. But in 1590, an art critic, Lamazo, declared him, quote, the sun amid small stars, not only among the Italians, but all the painters of the world. So he was thought to be one of the greatest Venetian painters who ever lived. The universality of Titian's genius is not questioned today, for he was one of the greatest in all aspects of the painter's art. He painted portraits, which were filled with a lot of character and emotion. He painted religious compositions that were quite full of emotion and charm, particularly his youthful Madonnas. And he painted a lot of mythological pictures, particularly Venus and Danae, which we're going to talk about at great length. He set a standard for physical beauty, which was often, as I mentioned before, quite erotic. And other great masters called him their mentor, in particular, people like Peter Paul Rubens and Nicolas Poussin. Rubens is someone we've talked about in past classes. Okay, and remember, I did mention there's a lot of nudity in his work. So this is one of his mythological paintings. I don't know which myth this refers to, but here is a baby Cupid. I'm guessing this is one of his Venus portrayals. I'm not sure who this woman is, but fairly typical of a Renaissance painting. It's quite realistic. You can almost see every leaf in this bush in the foreground here. And there certainly is a great deal of perspective and depth of field as you look back into the background in this painting. Ruth, are you able to see the screen? You have that horrible column in the way. So sorry. He was quite famous for his colors. Unfortunately, many of his paintings have become quite dirty as they've aged, but I know there's been considerable attempts over the years to clean them so that the glorious colors that he used are available for everyone to see. He was born of a modest official in Venice, as I mentioned, near the Italian Alps and not far from the Austrian Tyrol. Give me a moment while I go to the next section of my notes. Anyone want to talk about this particular painting? Yes, the red is quite beautiful. And when he paints Venus, I'm so glad you brought that up, Heather. The Renaissance painters used color and certain imagery to convey certain things symbolically. And red was a particular color to symbolize Venus. It was used often, not just by Titian, but other Renaissance painters to show that that's Venus, the goddess of love. Right. It definitely is a great compositional tool to force your eye backwards into back into the horizon line in the composition. All right. Well, for some reason, I'm not finding too much more in my notes, but let's keep looking at the pictures. I know I highlighted several more things I wanted to talk about, but they'll come up as we look at the paintings. So he frequently did these wonderful things with light. This is also a big Renaissance technique. It also led to the next period of art history called Rococo. The Rococo artists were another group of European artists who loved playing with light and doing extraordinary things with light and shadow. Notice the way the figure in the foreground is so brightly lit. And remember our rules of landscape making. Things that are in the front are always brighter. Things that are in the back get duller in color and fade into brown and gray as you recede into space. There's a lot of movement in this composition and certainly a lot of detail. He was definitely a master of detail. Here is the Renaissance love for physical beauty. You can see almost every muscle in her body. She's quite voluptuous, but also incredibly muscular. So again, women were not allowed to model in the studio of the Renaissance artists. So this might have been a male figure that Titian adapted to look more feminine. Michelangelo, Leonardo, even the Mona Lisa has been thought to have been a man that he modified to look like a woman. They all use male models. The color is a little duller in this one, possibly because the original painting has been dulled and dirtied over time. This is a detail. I'm going to show you the full painting in the following slides. This is a quite famous painting of Titian's, also based on a Greek and Roman myth. It is called Europa being raped by Zeus. And this is Europa here. Zeus is the bull. And even though it's kind of a violent idea, I personally don't get a violent feeling from this. In the larger painting, there is a lot more movement, but I wanted you to see the details so you could see, look at the extraordinary drapery that he's executed here. This is all done with shading. Technically, he was quite masterful, no doubt about it. Michelangelo was actually in the studio with Titian, watching him paint the painting of Danae that we're going to talk about it at length later. And he said Titian was a genius with color, but not so great with his drawing skills. That always makes me laugh. Okay, so this image really gives you more of a sense of the true Titian colors. So the colors in his paintings really are amazingly brilliant and deep and rich. Notice the blue. And when you think about the period of history in which Titian was working, they didn't go to an art store to buy the blue paint. So this kind of color was difficult to achieve. And they used something called egg tempera, which they had to mix themselves. Some of the chemicals that they used, and even the chemicals came from natural materials, they were quite dangerous to the health of the artists who mixed them. But of course, at the time, they didn't realize that they were putting their own health at risk. So Titian, the great master, died at the old age of in 1576, while a plague was raging in Venice, and he is interred in the Church of Santa Maria dei Frari, where two of his most famous works may still be seen. This is one of his Last Suppers. Unfortunately, it's a digital image, so it's quite blurred. Very different from Da Vinci's Last Supper, but of course the same tableau, all of the disciples and Jesus at the Passover table together. I wish I had a better copy of it to share with you. But again, the colors quite wonderful. Notice the perspective. Remember, this is a Renaissance invention. The way he manages to make this image look three-dimensional on a two-dimensional flat surface. This is a relatively new concept in the world of European art, and he did it so well. And then this next slide is the Rape of Europa. You could see that, I mean, he and Michelangelo are very similar. Along with Michelangelo himself, I believe that Michelangelo was the greater of the two when it comes to skills. So through his long life, Titian was successful in all branches of the painter's art. His interpretation of Christian iconography, he's quite famous for that. And he made new compositions of the Assumptions and the Madonna, the Martyrdom of St. Lawrence, et cetera, et cetera. There's much that's written about him. And again, these kinds of mythological paintings, he's quite famous for, and his portraits of the very rich and wealthy, the popes of that time and the dukes of that time commissioned him frequently to paint their portraits. So this is a mythological painting. Here's one of his religious works. His religious works, but I'm guessing these two people adoring the baby are probably rich patrons who posed to be in the painting. At least this person posed. Remember, women could not pose during Renaissance times. As always, you guys, if you want to share or say anything about the paintings, please do. We're about to come to the final painting, which is going to be the focus of the last few minutes of our discussion. Anybody want to share? Anybody at home have a comment they want to? Notice the rich detail in this personage's cape. Pretty gorgeous. This is another Renaissance trope, I guess is the word to use. Renaissance painters love to put these ephemeral, ethereal landscapes behind whomever or whatever they were painting. If you look at the Mona Lisa, for example, there is a very spectral landscape behind her head. All right. So this is one version of the painting that Titian did, inspired by the poet Ovid's poem Metamorphosis. This is Danae, and the full painting is called Danae and the Shower of Gold. This is not the first or original Danae. The shower of gold is coming from this cloud up here. It says Zoom user entered the waiting room, Laura. I don't know if you want to admit someone, you may not know who that is. There in this digital image, you can't really see, but there is a lot of gold dust descending from this cloud. And the myth that is written about in this poem is that a Greek king named, I think it's Acris, was told that his daughter would give birth to a son. Acrisius, his name is. His daughter would give birth to a son who would grow up to kill him. So horrified and terrified by this prediction that was told to him by an oracle, he locked his daughter Danae up in a tower so that she would never be seen again, and so that she would never meet with a man in order to become impregnated and have a child who would later grow up to kill him. Well, what happened was that Zeus, the king of all the gods, somehow saw her and became greatly enamored of her and was so overcome with lust that he transformed himself into this shower of gold and descended upon her into her tower chamber and raped her and impregnated her with this child, who, unfortunately, by accident, did kill his grandfather later in life. And so it's a very sad story, tragic ending. And I guess Titian really, really loved this poem because he painted not one, but 6 versions of this myth. And I'm going to close our slideshow and show you the painting that scholars think is the original. But before I do that, I want you to pay attention to this old woman. And I want you to remember her because she may or may not reappear. Also, look at the drapery and pay attention to that. There are certain things that remain in different iterations of the painting, in the 6 other paintings that Titian paints, and certain things that change. Any comments before I close the slideshow?
The very darkness behind the woman is really striking. Even though there's a shower of gold coming out, it still just really stands out how he chose to do that. And then like it's something.
So this is also a Renaissance tradition, making the area around whatever it is the artist wants us to look at first, his focal point, making that area dark and highlighting the image that the artist wants you to focus on. So I'm glad you brought that up, Robin. This dark background and then the very bright, lush figure of Danae is exactly what Titian intended to do. He did that on purpose. The highlights on this beautiful silken satin drapery also were something that he did intentionally. Laura, go ahead. This is conjecture. We do know for a fact that Renaissance artists did not paint living females because women, it was forbidden for women to pose. It was forbidden. So I don't know. He could have snuck a woman into his studio and she did actually pose for him, or
But they still look like men. Even because I know men pose I cannot, they are not believable women figures to me.
well, do remember that physical aesthetics change throughout time, and Renaissance people might have been larger because people liked women to be large at that time.
But this is all about us.
I don't know. I don't know. We will never know for certain. Is it important? I think is the larger question. Does it matter aesthetically? Okay, some people are saying yes, it does.
But it's important to see that you know some folks
Well, maybe during the Renaissance period of time, larger women were held in regard. Wealthier people probably, had better diets. And Jane.
So I was just reading up in the background and it discovered that Zeus impregnated
A lot of
a
people.
lot of
Yeah.
mortals.
Zeus was a busy guy.
Well, impregnated a lot of mortals. That's the way it was. And how he was able to do that, because he wasn't mortal, was that he would come in the form of a boar or some other animal. I think they only mentioned two. So this is kind of unique in that it was a shower of stardust, whatever. But I also think it's interesting to think about how artists of that time were making industry of presenting these images, and were they glorifying the impregnation, the rape of women? Glorifying it by saying, well, Zeus, did Zeus do any wrong? So I just think it's a very
Well, and it gets worse. Do you want me to tell you now or wait till we look at the next? It does get worse. I have to show you another picture, I think, though. So I'm going to stop the share.
Well, I just think, it's very interesting to be able to consider all the balance of
Art history is a wonderful thing. Yes.
Especially if you think about where we are today, it's just, it's almost like I could get a brain of trying to make sense of it.
Okay, so this is believed to be the original.
Uh-huh.
Quite different.
Yeah, as if there's an angel.
So this is not an angel. Folks at home, first of all, can you see? Yes? Okay. This figure on the right is called a putti. Those of you who speak Italian, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. But a putti is a little Cupid figure. He's kind of a naughty little Cupid. He is a servant, I guess, of Venus. He's the one who has the bow and arrow, who shoots the arrow into the heart of lovers to encourage them to fall in love. And it's really hard to see here, but no longer is it gold dust falling from the sky. Now Zeus has turned himself into golden coins. And Danae suddenly is no longer the victim. Do you see the change of expression in her face? She has now become a fallen woman, a loose woman, a symbol of prostitution, who is welcoming Zeus into her bed. So there's a whole nother layer of mystery about Titian, this painting, attitudes towards sex during the Renaissance time, whether or not men or women posed for these paintings. It's interesting. And anyone out there who wants to work on their doctorate, there's a lot been written about this, and a lot more that could be written about this in relation to attitudes towards the human female body nowadays, and femininity and feminism and women's rights, and our own attitudes towards our own female bodies. But you know what? We're now going to talk more about art and what you can create today, because time is of the essence. Hold on 1 minute, please, because I got a question from someone at home. I'm hoping I'm understanding the question. This was a text just sent to me. So we think that this model might be a male model. We are not sure. Women during the Renaissance were not allowed to pose for male artists. So we think it's possibly a man who modeled, and Titian, the brilliant artist that he was, changed her into a woman. Anybody, before I tell you what we're making today, just a couple other things. So the old lady is gone. What else is different about this painting? There's a lot that's different.
The curtains are not red anymore.
The red curtain is gone. What else? This is tricky.
There was something else on the right side. I don't remember.
The drapery moved from the right leg to the left.
Right.
The angle of her head, the expression on her face, very different. And not to be gross, her legs are a little more spread apart. The whole attitude of her figure is much more relaxed and, dare I say, a bit wanton. This painting is much more erotic than the previous one we looked at.
Also interesting how the composition remains sort of intact, and I think of the Cupid as having replaced the old woman. It's like you know, like someone studying, like Monet studying and painting the same.
Yes,
image.
yes. He was fascinated by this story, and he painted it, like I said, 6 times. He wanted to get it right. But some of the later paintings, they believed people in his workshop might have created, because he was getting up there in years. I mean, he worked on these throughout his life. The other thing for me is the old woman to me was a protector, whereas the putti is more of kind of a culprit or a co-conspirator.
Right. That the shape of the head and attitude reminds me of the woman. Like
She's much more feminine looking. Well,
I'm talking about the Cupid versus the older woman.
oh, well, this is definitely a male putti.
Anyway,
And
not to get
I'm backtracking on what I said, feminine, because that's my personal opinion. But she looks to me, I don't know how to phrase this in a politically correct way, but she appears to be less manly. She's a little bit more delicate. What we in Western white culture think of as feminine.
I think she looks very masculine.
You still think she looks masculine.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we could debate this ad nauseum forever. If you look at Michelangelo, Leonardo's paintings, the females all are this heavy muscular figure. So we will never know for sure. All right. I'm going to stop the share. I have several other versions of this painting, but we're running out of time. I don't want to share them with you. I want to talk about what you're going to make today. All right, so we've had artists who've been inspired by poetry. We've had artists who inspired poems, like Van Gogh inspired Allen Ginsberg to write a poem. Titian was inspired by the poet Ovid to create 6 paintings. Today, if you read your email from me, you should have your own poem ready to go, and you are going to illustrate a poem today. Now, this is a tall order. How do you illustrate a poem? You could do a completely abstract image that represents a feeling that you get from a poem. You could do something realistic that the poem inspires you to do. There could be a visual image that you get from reading the poem that you want to portray on paper. So 2 different directions that you can go in. You could also take words. This is your third option. Words from the poem that you could use to make a visual image. You could take letters and make patterns with the letters. Think of the letters as shapes and create a pattern using letters. So let me go over your 3 choices for today. 1, a completely abstract painting or drawing that conveys the feeling or spirit of the poem that you read. 2, a realistic image that you get in your imagination after having read a poem. And 3, a picture that you create using letters or words in some kind of pattern. You could put them in a grid. You could put them in organic shapes. Questions. I know you have questions now. Go ahead and ask. You want to put things in the chat for me? Yes, it would be interesting to see all 6 versions of Titian's paintings next to each other. We're not going to do that today. I actually did not do enough research to have all the 6 paintings available for you today. I apologize for that. All right, so I brought in a lot of poems. Those of you who worked with me yesterday, these are the same poems as yesterday. However, I've organized them better for you. The ones that are multiple pages, I've stapled together and clipped them. So they're much better organized today. And unfortunately, I only have 1 left of the Emily Dickinson Hope painting, which this painting is so evocative. I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to read this poem to everyone as our starter for today. It's very short. I think it might inspire all of you. If you have a smartphone, those of you who are here, or those of you who are at home with your laptop or desktop available, you can look it up. It is called Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity. It asked a crumb of me. Again, Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. I don't know, Laura, maybe I should have asked earlier. Maybe we could get this photocopied for everyone if people really want it. All right, so no questions. People who are here, there's a multitude of media for you to use: watercolors, soft pastels, colored pencils, crayons. You can go to work. Different size paper at the back today. Regular pencils. Folks at home, use what you got. Let's illustrate a poem. Once running together. Everybody should run. Yeah, don't you think it works? You know, so it's hard to look at beautiful. Right, people who are here, good idea. This one. So I'm gonna.
Hi.
If you like.
Hi.
This, the thing with feathers, you won't just.
Yeah, but I can talk.
You can be heard.
All right. Ladies. Yeah. It's required. Yeah, it is required. Yeah. Susie, you take a picture. This is it, yeah. You can, or you can put other phones out there. Yeah, I mean, I love this because your mind could go anywhere. You can do feathers. But what does it look like? It's a tough thing to do. You could just do shapes. But Alex, you got this. So this one, you're required to really use your imagination. You're not going to be looking at anything today. Everyone at home get it? This is really using your imagination and your creativity. Is it not letting me type? So here's a tip. You could just start by scribbling and something may evolve. It's a way for you to play. You just start by doing little tools and shapes and it's a beautiful work, yes. And do it again. Solve that here, Alex. You want big or this? It's gonna be hard for you to get back here. Little Sally Benny. It's a little lost. This way. Remember, the big blue garbage cans are for paper. Not this. Not this. This does not go in the big blue garbage. Garbage. This is your imagination. Okay. Something will come for you. Shapes. Is it a picture of the poem? Oh, that's Find Titian on.
Is there a dance remote? Huh? What, you got the one? The one in the other side?
Yes. That's fine. Do you want to do like? Copy that one. Yes. March it. For June. Good if you copy it. Very good practice for you. Your screen is sensitive. It's big and beautiful for you. This one, like her. It's very good. We're gonna copy this. And my question is, if you copy this and you don't make it exactly the same, are you gonna feel good with that? Maybe I will never. I would want. Yes. Yes, I can also put an image on this. If someone would like to copy a Titian, wow, I will put a Titian on the screen for you. It is not something I would have chosen. And okay, Titian is spelled this way. I'm going to share it with everyone. Let me find my Titian folder. Here, I think this is the image you're looking at. Susie, look. I'm going to try and share this one with everyone now. How's that for serendipity? If your imagination is failing you today and you want to copy a Titian, here is one you can copy. That's the one you're looking at, Susie. So if you lose the picture on your phone screen, you can copy this one. You can use the same proportional rules for drawing a human figure that I've taught you all along. Use her head as your measuring tool. Oh, good. It's okay, Nicole. And Nika's doing the door too. Yes, Alice. Is it a specific poem that inspired you? Well, it's really like. All right. I mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. That's not working. Yeah. It's not a crime. Yes, this is. Somebody. Oh, using word. Try something color. Yeah, actually, though, I like this. What you do this. Hi, Janice. Delighted. So we're working with poetry today. Take a poem and illustrate it. Our artist is Titian. If you would like to copy the image that's on the screen, you're welcome to do that. How would you like to? But the main idea of today's lesson is the poem. Inspiration. We only have one copy. Any media. You do? Wow. Sorry. The poem is a happy one.
Yeah, it's
He doesn't like what he's hearing. Okay. Relaying the message. There you go. That's terrific. Susie. Oh, good. This might be too. This is the one you got supposed to do this.
But anyway, I just put the. The line is part of this. Fun.
And it should be. True. Yeah. It's beautiful. These are beautiful.
I did, I brought a few, but it's
Beautiful. Incredibly beautiful. What's up, Justin?
yeah.
So
Yeah,
like the bear is so feathered.
So I wanted to look at some images. Like,
Everyone at home, okay? It was a challenging assignment, I know.
Pretty good. Let's see.
Really have a full house today. Stephanie, I know, are you still with us, Stephanie, or you had to leave already? What do you folks think of Titian? Nobody really, do you like? Okay, not a resounding. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but
You know what, there's a lot going on, needed to edit. I think, okay, there was just too much going on.
the studies are definitely allegorical. There's something about Michelangelo that you're so overwhelmed by incredible skill, man. That it doesn't even matter what the thing is about. You know, you just get overwhelmed by the extraordinary power of his abilities. You're getting a distinct vision of something from the poem that you read. Yeah, it's fine. That's one of the options. What wonderful too. You're using the words of the poem to create your image. That is also one of the choices. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Um, um, Again, a reminder, next Thursday, May 4th, you can come and do drawing as meditation at the Multi Center from 12 to 12:30. Yes, where we had class, yes. I will be teaching class about drawing as meditation. Else it's 30, unfortunately, it's been 30 minutes. I will. There you go. Just page one. Yeah, but you were. That's small. I didn't say it's working. No. Please write your email addresses in here, and then I can keep you informed. I can send you emails about the classes. Oh. Write them on your emails. This one. Yeah, we're getting better. Getting better. Doesn't say we started. Oh. Like it's scary. Yeah. It's really hard to put a student.
I'm just. Here, I got one. Years ago. Point so soft. Really. Very nice.
My at-home artist, you're good. Margot, you're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Doris is still in the house.
Dress pink.
I'm not sure. All right, let me know. I wanted to put in the chat. I don't know, Margot, did you hear earlier next Thursday, I'm doing a drawing as meditation class at the Multipurpose Center?
I did 12 to 12:30.
Come if you can.
I will if I can. 12 to 12:30. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My gift to you today, everyone, are the poems. If you'd like to take any of the poems home with you, please do. Still I Rise poem is missing the last page. I don't think it took the last page today for some reason. There's one more page that says, I rise, I rise, I rise. The best part. The best part. I read that page when and it's going.
Hmm.
Yeah. And you obviously have created your own. And you're expressing your own voice because this is it. Love it. Yeah. Yeah, just one because never intended. It's just the pictures on your screen. You have to log in. Your phone goes to sleep. Oh, now we will stay there for some period.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So this week, an email from me. Yeah. So you'll- Susie, you're done with this picture? I'm gonna change the picture. 11:34, so we have about 15 minutes till cleanup. So this is an example of one of Titian's portraits, as was the other one, of course. Can you see this, Margot? Okay.
Yes.
This is when they do this around a picture like this, it means they don't want you to print it. It's copyrighted.
The print, yeah.
You like this one, Susie? This is a good one to copy. The human head is an oval. The shoulders are one head length wide from the neck to the shoulder. The hand is the same size as the face. Things for you to think about if you copy this person.
I don't think.
Texture. More layers, right?
Yeah.
Great.
So where do you see? You want me to share it now? Well, I have this up the show. Oh, wow. Oh, you know what? I can look at my phone.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now, is what I'm always saying. Well, I didn't go to the Caribbean side. They're like 5 years ago. So they're not used to it. You study art?
Of course, I'm not seeing it on my. Sorry, Susie, I had to take the image away for a minute. Um,
Put a little more gray here. Where's gray? Right here.
so Laura has written a poem and created a beautiful digital image to go with it. I think we'll wait a few minutes and then I'll share it with everyone because you're all so busy working. I don't want to interrupt just right now, but. And maybe Laura, you'll be able to read it for us. We'll do it in a bit. People are involved in the work, Laura. I don't want to interrupt.
Oh, how are we gonna do that?
Yeah, there you go. My I do classes where I teach how to draw the face. This is not one of them. So you're doing really well with that instruction. You're just very, very sensitive.
Yeah,
Yeah, color pencils are.
well, that's just
color
because what happened to
They are
me
the
is I got
closest in
sinus.
nature as well. I like the red.
Yeah.
Now you have to do it in all the red. And then stripes as you walk in.
Yeah, but that wasn't, that's, you don't wanna go there with irritated thoughts. Look at the name
Did it well.
of the stuff I learned. Yeah. I don't think there's anything. Maybe upstairs.
Again, shoulders are good. Look at me, look at me. It's true. Just look at the bottom of his hand. The edge of his shoulder. Wide, especially on her, she has really big shoulders.
Yeah,
You know,
I know.
Funny big shoulders, and also the hand is big.
what did you get to?
Yeah.
Did you get to?
I had brought, the Dickinson myself.
Big as the face.
I just started adding some other.
Add. Got it.
Yeah. after this. I had still.
See, I know you know.
And you know, the message sometimes without the words is strong. But another thing you can do once this is dry is shake on your line.
Yeah.
Yeah, the water's running. The water's running in the ladies' room, right? Or no?
Are you going? Where do you think you're going?
That's so. Laura, we don't have a problem cleaning up.
We'll just leave everything. We'll handle it. And this goes.
That's just a- No.
If the one that will be sheet.
Yeah.
This one we get. 1976, it was a very good year, Ruth. Well, I'll do it. Are you sure there's nobody in there eating lunch right now? But first, guys, first, before we start cleaning, I want to show what Laura has created. So I'm going to stop the share on this picture. And Laura has written a poem and created a digital image to go with it. All done today. Laura, you want to read? Everybody listen up.
Well, it's dedicated to the class.
Oh,
You bear with me.
oh.
You want to read it? Sing it.
No, you have to read it.
I'll give it a whirl.
Let's see.
The willow, liz, and the taproot of art. I am in the presence of extraordinary humanity and the taproot of art. I wonder if they know I think often upon their journeys. I hear some of their words, but I am moved by their choice to be here.
Get back.
I see they are made whole by each other at times, and I want the unabashed wisdom that they all share. And I'm humbled by their consistent presence each week. I pretend to just moderate the circle dance and not see equal, but I do. I feel the great balance of life and the friendships here each time we gather. I touch upon staying still, staying in my lane, and as I am sure a few of them do. I worry about time moving so fast through us all, as we may all fall away in and out of this circle dance. I cry at the impermanence of it all. When alone, I sometimes feel deep, and my breath rumbles for what seems like the very last time. I am then once a week shaken by the taproot of these resilient and beautiful art seekers. I understand nothing except for that which I would like to hold on to. I say in repetitive fashion what needs to be said to hold the space for them to create. I dream for a place for us where this time spent never ends, even in our death. I try to reckon with the private lives we all lead, and hope we all find peace within that art can provide, through forms and colors yet realized. I am thankful for art that lives, and for those that come to create, seek, and inspire themselves. And if I'm not here for the next one, I still look for you, and will still look for you along the taproot of life itself, with art as its guide, and you as its water bearers, and Liz as the wind that blows through the
That would be me, the wind. Yay, Laura. Oh, absolutely. I will forward this poem to everyone. It's really beautiful, Laura. Thank you so much. I'm very moved. Wow. So Laura is a silent witness to our creative process. Thank you so much for being here, Laura. So wait, before you start cleaning, I want to now tell you something about this class. I know that when you start creating, you want direction. But in this class, I deliberately created a lesson that was more open-ended than usual. I did it on purpose because I wanted you to be inspired by the words of the poetry, not by something that I showed you. I know for some that was difficult and maybe even a little bit scary, but I am hoping that it led you down a new creative pathway, because poetry and art together should enable you to do that. All right, Margot wants to share. So you may start cleaning, those of you who are here, but take a look at Margot's work if you can. Margot, you've got to move that bright light. Wow. So which poem did you use today?
Maya Angelou, I really hate to lose something. I lost a doll once by some doll
Awesome.
and a watch. So that was my inspiration. I don't know if you can see this.
Awesome.
Okay.
This one makes me really happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else here want Laura or I to come around with the camera to share your work? You're all busy packing up. Oh, Janice wants to share. So where's the camera? Let's see, want to share your tab on the table while you're
All right.
job is to forget one. Yeah.
All right, let's see.
I didn't get to hold the pen one. What's the color? Very nice. Making meals silent and still. That's beautiful. I love it. I took a picture. I hope you don't mind.
All right, sorry, Janice, I'm finally and I will share yours together. You folks all want to share? Amazing. Janice first.
It's a poem.
It's upside down. Let's turn it right
From
way up.
150. Make
Janice is speaking. Let's listen up.
a Psalm 150, inspired Jericho Brown, and
one of the lines says, make us kneel, silent and still, hear me, thunder scares, lightning lets us see. Then heads covered with wait for rain, dear Lord, let me watch for his arrival and hang my head.
Beautiful interpretation of this poem, everybody. Don't you agree?
Yes.
Look at
Very,
these
very
great lines and colors. Wonderful, Janice. You have such a terrific color sense.
Thank you.
Always.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for sharing, Janice.
Thank you.
No one else? You guys want to share? Yes, Judy read the poem Center. Wow, this really interprets the poem Center. I realize I'm on mute. Oh, you can hear me? Okay, good. Wow, this is so powerful, Judy. Love that's in it. Great colors. Terrific.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Heather back from Guatemala. It's done such a beautiful drawing of the elusive Quetzal. This gives me hope. Really gorgeous. So I- Really beautiful, Heather. Really nice. Did you want to share, Mika? Also, the poem Hope, I know Mika was reading it earlier. Also a bird. Really great composition, her arrangement and shapes, really well done. Rainbows, rainbows. What a successful class. That was neat. Share, which one do you want me to share?
That's you.
All right, that's Brennan Golder, and she's working on a second image of this as well, in watercolor. That's in progress. Did this come out of the poem?
Yeah, some in 30.
Really, I love the detail on this so much. I love the family. The fullness of the position in this one. It's really very, very well done. Thank you. Shirley and Sally, you want to share? Not finished yet. Sandy J. Right. So I guess we can say goodbye.
That's the fun.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Margot.
Bye.
Next week, I will send an email reminding everyone about the meditation class. So, ciao.